I gotta start building another window box, and I have a bunch of them done, so I know what I'm doing now. So I'm using 2-inch thick by 10 lumber for the outside portion of the window box. So this is what it's going to look like when it is done. And then I will do another 10-inch wide board on the inside. I haven't figured out or put much thought into how I'm going to attach both of them, but because this wall is a double cordwood wall, 8-inch inside and outside and a 4-inch gap, the 10-inch board and a 10 will add up to the 20 inches I need. So right now I'm just concentrating on the outside. I'm going to figure out the rest later. I have to get this small window floated in this section of wall before we can continue with the cordwood today. So we just float it in here, and how I'm doing that is I'm using a, whatever you want to call it, a jig or whatever, and I've built 2 of those, and this is 1 foot from here to here, okay? So I'm taking that jig, which is about 3 feet wide, and securing it to that top plate on the outside of the wall. So it's right on the edge of it. They're flush when it's done on the outside of the wall. And then I have a place to pick up this window box, secure it on the bottom, and screw it in, so it's floating in there. Then what I've been doing is taking a scab board and about halfway up the window, once it's floating in here, I'll just place a scab board all the way across to this side of the timber, and then I'll angle a screw in through that scab board into the wood, so you can't see the hole or anything, because it'll be on the inside of the wall where the cordwood is. And I'll also angle a screw into the window box in the same fashion, so you won't be able to see that screw when the wall is finished. And then now that window can't sway or anything, and it'll be flush with both, the entire wall, flush with these timbers, and it'll be flush on the top. And then you just work your cordwood up and around the window. And I usually get about, 1/3 high on the window, enough so you're certain that it's strong and in there. And then you can take the scab board off, and I usually leave the top portion connected until I get, until that's in the way, and then I'll screw it off and remove it, and then you can continue around the entire window. So in the end, that box is just floating in that cordwood, and it's not secured to anything, but it's not going anywhere. You also put keyways in that, and what I mean by that is this is a keyway. I have 2 of them, so when the mortar's wrapped around it, if you were to push the wall, it would hit this, you know what I mean? So it's secured, all the mortar inside of it. Other thing I'm doing is not on a short window because it's strong enough, but you have the weight of the cordwood above, and I was kind of worried about that, and I should probably have done it on these 2 windows. I have that's a 4-foot wide window, and this is a 5-foot wide window. And I did not do what I'm about to tell you. What I do is I put a hanger on the top, so that top board cannot bow. Well, I did not do that on these 2 windows, so I actually have a board in there right now, taking the weight so it wouldn't be able to sag. But now this wall is dry, so I don't think there's going to be a problem, because all that cordwood is it's supported and connected to the top, and hopefully there's not going to be a problem. I guess we'll find out when I take these boards off. But the 6-foot window being so long, I did put a scab board in, and what I did is I put the 2x4 on edge. I didn't put it this way, I put it this way. And the reason I did that is because if it was this way, it would be 3.5 inches wide, right? And you would see that in the cordwood, because you can't put a log in that portion unless you cut like a little shorty and screwed it to the the face of it, something like that, you could do that. So on the outside you wouldn't be able to tell. But what I chose to do is put the board the other way and then just put my logs real tight to that board. So you can see that that board comes down and there's no wood there, right? It's just mortar, but you really can't tell because it's such a small area. If you put it the other way, you would notice that there's a big block of just mortar and no wood. And then on the top, I put a scab board. So this board rides up, it's touching my top plate, and then I put a scab board beside it and secured that to the top plate, and then put screws in from the side into that scab. And then underneath, I just secured with 2 screws. So now this can't sag. And I did that with this window too, which is another 4-foot window. So hopefully I didn't screw myself on these because I didn't do it. Kind of an update on the house. We have a large section to do there, a large section to do right here, which there won't be any window there. This small section should go pretty quick. Today I'm guessing we're gonna get halfway or a little bit more because there's a window in that portion. And then we just have these very small end spots, and both of those have windows, so that'll go very fast. So we're getting toward the end, but we got to keep rolling because once you get done, it takes about 3 weeks for that wall to dry. So even though I'm going to be done with cordwood, I can't insulate and spray foam on the backside of this until that's dry. So that sucks, but we got to keep rolling every single day that we're here. We have to do cordwood, and it's getting old. We've been doing it since the beginning of June, and it's now mid-August. Like today, we'll be doing cordwood. I set up the plastic so I can be on the outside, my wife's on the inside, and I can stay dry, hopefully. Maybe we'll wait until this heavy downpour stops, but we got to make mortar outside right there. Coming along. A lot of work. Just close your eyes and do it. Next couple weeks we are putting in our masonry heaters, which will sit right here. So that will be pretty cool. We'll have a beautiful, very expensive masonry heater right there that'll heat the house. We got our septic in last week. Our holding tank is what it is. So that sits there. It also extended out the yard a little bit, which is kind of nice. Did that. We broke our gas line that goes to our little in-wall furnace. So we got to get that fixed by winter, patch that line. I totally spaced out that it was there because it's a temporary line, because that heater will be leaving once the house is finished. We won't have that in-wall furnace. That'll move to my shop once I get it built. We also got our solar panels, which I'm not going to show you right now because it's raining. Those are installed, and we're running off solar, which is working awesome. Even on a day like this, it brings in, and we'll probably charge the batteries. We're down to under 80% today on the battery, which is the lowest it's been in the last 2 weeks. And it's still bringing in, like, right now I would say probably only 150 watts, but we only use like 130 in the house. So, you know, if it continues like this all day, we'll still probably get to 100% by nightfall. We just got an electric induction cook stove, so we don't have to use a propane camping stove because we have the electricity is so good and stuff that we need to use it up. I mean, it's there. On a sunny day, we are bringing in 6,000 watts. I mean, it charges the batteries super fast. And while it's raining, I just want to show why we put 3-foot overhangs on our house, and that's to protect the cordwood So even in a heavy downpour, you get some spray. It's probably coming up maybe 2.5 feet. But once we get gutters on, that will take care of that problem. We're a little over 8 inches off the ground. And depending on how we do our landscaping, we'll probably have mulch or something. It won't splash as much. So we shouldn't have really any water touching the cordwood, which isn't the end of the world. We just wanted to negate that. So these 3-foot overhangs will do that. And on the gable side of the house, we did the same thing. I just built a small shed roof for the same purpose. You can see, because it's the gable side, there's very little water coming off that roof because it's only 3 foot, 3 foot wide coming off of there. And I don't know what my wife's doing. What you doing, dear? Well, that water is going to find a way. I don't think that's going to work. We're just going to have to pump it out later. She's going to do it. All right. I better double check my measurement. I do not want to screw up a board that I milled up myself, that I only have enough for one more window, because if I screw it up, I got to get a log, load it on the mill, and spend half a day to get another board. We've learned that you got to make a spot for the sump pump to go before it starts raining, so there's less screwing around. Me and my wife were talking this morning how nice it would be to have breakfast and coffee on a rainy day and then just watch a fucking movie or something. But we've got to work every day, so she'll go back and work 12-hour shift at the hospital, and then I'll go back and work, and then when she gets off, I have to take off pretty much no matter what, and then come up here so we can, because you need 2 people to do cordwood. It would be, well, you don't need it, but it would be horrible to have to jump back and forth on a wall. It would feel like you're just getting nothing done. So it's yeah, kind of a 2-person job right now. When we do the inside wall, it's going to become a 1-person job. You're doing a good job, honey. And then I'm going to pre-drill 3 holes, and then put 4-inch screws in, make this a box, and then what I'll do is cut 1 brace going diagonal to make sure it's a square. and then I will hang it, and then I'll put a couple boards on the inside to brace the top and the sides, especially the sides on this one because it's so long, just for the weight of the cordwood not to bow in that board while it's drying. Once it's dried, I don't think there's anything to worry about. So after I do all the squaring and everything and get that cross piece in, I'll also put the keyways in on this smaller one, because this won't be as heavy as like the 6-footer. I did it after it was installed, just so I didn't have to add any extra weight, because that was a heavy window box. That one took 3 people to install. So by installing that one little jig a foot down, all my windows will be the same height off the top plate. And the reason for that is when you walk up and put your toes against that inside wall and then look outside, you can see the eave right there. So there would have been no point to get that any higher for any reason, and that was kind of low enough to where I can still easily get cordwood up there too. I wouldn't want to be any shorter than that, because it would be real hard to do the cordwood. So, and then that was a good height. Like I say, when you walk up to the wall, you can still see the sky and stuff. And then it'll still be above, mostly above our furniture and stuff. You know, couch might sit a little bit higher, but anyway, then it'll look uniform across the whole house. And then the bottoms I'm not too worried about. So I've showed this before, but here's one thing we're doing on the log ends. We're putting fencing staples in, usually on 2 sides. If it's a round, possibly 4 sides. It just kind of depends on how big the piece of wood is. The other thing we're doing is we're putting I forget what we call them, keyways in. That's to lock that mortar so it doesn't want to go back and forth. And we're also doing that on the windows. And then you can see we're putting roofing nails. I'm doing that on the, this is a double wall. So if it was a single wall, I would do this on both ends, but we don't really have to worry about the inside. So I'm putting these roofing nails between that front channel. And that's just to hold the mortar and make it so it doesn't pull away from the window, because sometimes it has a tendency just to like dry and shrink right there. So this seems to help. And I'm doing that on both ends. And then on the top, you can see that there. And also I do a couple roofing nails right in the middle, just again to help lock that mortar to the wall. This is my idea. I don't know if it makes a huge difference or not. I believe it does. I know one thing this does on the top is it helps it so when you are putting the mortar up by the ceiling, it has a tendency to slump. So this really helps it lock in and something to push the mortar into. Otherwise, if you don't have anything, it just makes it a lot harder, and I think it will have a tendency again to slump. We had it happen at our sauna over there. Some of the spots on the edge dropped, and this seems to hold it up tight to the top plate. So I think it's a good thing to do personally. So we just, and it's cheap and it's easy. So I don't see what it would hurt. So we're going to continue doing it. We've done it on all the windows and stuff. This is the one thing where I've done on a window, on my windows, is to help like hang it. So the weight of that mortar won't bow that top board. Now this is a short one, but I've been doing it for insurance anyway. But when you have a tall or a long one, like this is a 6-foot window, I did that on this window. You can see it here. But I didn't take into account, I thought that that's all I would need, but because this is a 10-inch board, it actually bowed on the front side. You can see with the braces on the back side. So I didn't foresee that happening. So I wedged a board in there, and it actually slumped down on the front side of this. On this edge of the window on the front side, it bowed down. So there's a little gap in the mortar. So now I've bought 18-inch screws where I'm going to screw through a piece of wood and into that top plate. And we're going to see if that fixes it. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bottle jack that front half up very slowly so I don't do anything that's going to compromise the wall or whatever. And then once it's sucked up against that mortar, I'm going to put that screw in and probably put a good sized washer in there, and then let that bottle jack out, and hopefully I think it's going to work. And I don't think that screw, that timber screw, is going to break or split that mortar, because I'm going to have it far enough back from the edge where I don't think I'm going to have to worry about it. And hopefully it screws right through that mortar. I think it will. So we'll see.